Malcolm Roberts is a voluntary project leader of the Galileo movement. It's a non-profit organisation formed to axe the tax by exposing misrepresentations of the climate science. So that's a good idea, isn't it? With an honours engineering degree and a master's degree in business, his qualifications are similar to those of the chairman of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, whose reports are the basis of the government's climate policy. He's been studying climate fraud, yes, for 4 years, all as a volunteer. His experience includes responsibility for hundreds of people's lives based on his knowledge of atmospheric gases, including carbon dioxide. Would you welcome Malcolm Roberts?
Let's axe the tax. And let's free Australia. You know, people are wonderful. We make mistakes. Yet contrary to what these Greens keep claiming, humans are not inherently evil. You should not be punished, micromanaged, regulated, controlled. In global warming, the core issue, they're trying to steal your money, steal your freedom, control you using fraud. I'll show you how. But first, Howard, thank you. And thank you to Stephen and Kathleen for inviting me and for organising this, and their team. And thank you for your wonderful support. I want to acknowledge, celebrate, and appreciate your care on this steaming global warming day. Thank you for being here. This government, in my experience and from what I've read, is the most corrupt we have ever seen. It cares nothing about people in this country. It simply cares about headlines. Right around the country, people are split, divided by this vile, fraudulent government. It is in office based on a lie, and it is spreading deceptions and lies. People across this country are expressing all kinds of feelings: confusion, fear, guilt, frustration, resentment, anger, apathy, doubt. People are saying they need and are looking for truth, understanding, reassurance, security, confidence, hope, clarity. Clarity comes by understanding the core. In the 1970s, at the height of DDT's remarkable success eradicating malaria, DDT was banned by the United Nations Environmental Programme. Do you know that the ban was politically motivated and completely contradicted the science? In 2006, the UN's own World Health Organization condemned the ban and resumed the use of DDT. In DDT's absence, over 30 million people died agonizing deaths from malaria, including up to 20 million Africans, mostly in poverty. DDT would have prevented their deaths. For care to be effective, care needs to be informed. The United Nations Environmental Programme committed that immoral act of condemning 30 million people to death. The United Nations Environmental Programme has been driving global climate fraud since 1972. That is documented. The United Nations Environmental Programme, that crooked, corrupt, immoral organisation, formed the IPCC in 1988 and gave the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change its corrupt methods still in use today. Why is that important? Because both the Greens and the ALP say that their climate policies are based on reports by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. The IPCC does no scientific research. It's not accountable to any national government, not to anyone. The IPCC simply selects scientists and activists to read literature. Politicians, UN politicians, then writes summary reports given to national governments and media. Go to the Galileo Movement's website, galileomovement.com.au. You'll see a brief global warming timeline, starting with 1974's edition of supposed, forecast, imminent, irreversible, catastrophic global freezing. A new ice age blamed on coal and oil. This is really important. The same culprits, completely different answer. Just 2 years later, in 1976's so-called Great Pacific Climate Shift, global atmospheric temperatures increased slightly in 1 year. Just 4 years later, at its 1980 conference in Villach, Austria, government scientists from around the world refused to sign the UN's claim of global warming blamed on human production of carbon dioxide. They said, there's no evidence. The UN learned from that, and for its next conference in 1985, it selected the delegates. And guess what? Its delegates signed its claim, despite no evidence. The UN fabricating global warming. In 1995, 5 times IPCC scientists said no evidence of human warming. UN politicians reported to national governments and media, quote, the balance of evidence suggests a discernible human influence on global climate. The UN contradicting the evidence. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the UN's guidelines dictate the political report be released first. You know what I'm talking about. Where the science differs, the science is changed to be the same as the political report. The UN IPCC's chairman at the time was Bert Bolin. He came from the United Nations Environmental Programme. Before the IPCC was even formed, Bert Bolin, as a part of the United Nations Environmental Programme, was advocating the need for carbon dioxide taxes. You see, before the science had even started, the grab for money, the grab for power, and the desire to control was already in place before the science started. AXTA, tax. Free Australia. Come to Australia now. As Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd echoed the IPCC chairman, Rajendra Pachauri, repeatedly stating 4,000 scientists claim global warming and blame it on human production of carbon dioxide. The UN's own figures reveal 5 reviewers endorsed that claim. Not 4,000 scientists, just 5 reviewers. A blatant falsity from the very top of the UN's climate body, spread by the very top of the Rudd-Gillard-Brown government. Chapter 9 of the IPCC's latest report, 2007, is that report's core. It claims warming due to human production of carbon dioxide. I've read it completely, twice. There is no evidence anywhere. UN expert science reviewer, internationally eminent research scientist Dr. Vincent Gray, has around 60 years experience as a real-world scientist, not a computer modeler, not a fraudulent claimer of warming, as a real scientist, including 21 years in climate. Vincent has reviewed all 4 IPCC reports, 1990, 95, 2001, 2007. He says there is no evidence of human warming anywhere. A blatant scam. The UN claims 100% use of peer-reviewed science. Its latest report, and this is according to the UN's own data, reveal that peer review processes are corrupted, often bypassed, sometimes prevented. Yet the IPCC chairman repeatedly publicly claims 100% use of peer-reviewed science. The 5,500 documents that are claimed to be peer-reviewed science that are not peer-reviewed. 5,500, including newspaper articles, bushwalkers' stories, and political activist campaign material. Yet another blatant falsity from the very top of the IPCC, supported and spread by the very top of the Rudd-Gillard-Brown government. Shame indeed. In Australia, I've asked for evidence from all 8 publicly prominent academics spreading global warming fraud. Flannery, Garneau, Caroli, Stephan, England, Pittman, Lambach, Hergoldberg, and the CSIRO's Chief Executive Megan Clark, and its Environmental Group Executive Andrew Johnson, and Penny Sackett, this country's first Chief Scientist, appointed by Kevin Rudd. And recently, I've asked Martin Callanan, the Science Policy Manager of the Australian Academy of Science. I've received replies from most. All have failed to provide any evidence of human warming. All are funded by the government. All refused to disclose their financial conflicts of interest. No evidence. Lies and deceptions are riddling this argument, and they're all on the government side. Fraud is defined as the presentation of something as it is not for personal gain. Flannery is this government's Chief Climate Commissioner. Stephan is a commissioner. Caroli, England, and Pittman are on the Science Advisory Panel of that commission. Garneau seems to be the Chief Climate Advisor to Gillard. The International Inter-Academy Council has reviewed the IPCC disgraced by the ClimateGate scandal. So critical is that body of the of the Council's report, it's impossible to know which IPCC statements, if any, can be believed. There can be no confidence at all in the IPCC's latest report, 2007. None. And that is the basis of this government's fraud. And that's the basis of its government's tax. Axter, free Australia. None of this will help our planet. None of this will help people. It hurts people, it hurts our planet. So they've got no evidence. They have got no consensus. They have got misrepresentations driven by people benefiting financially. A crooked scam driving a political agenda. So what can you do about it? Please go to the GalileoMovement.com.au. You'll find short summaries exposing much more than what I've covered. You'll find details. You'll find 5 pages, items 1 to 5, where at the bottom you'll see the list, the URLs. It'll take you to all of our federal MPs' contact details. Go to them. We got rid of Turnbull. When I say we, the people in this country got rid of Turnbull through your email campaigns, through your telephoning. Yes, got rid of Turnbull. Now we've got to get rid of a government. So please go to those sites, find the contact details, send emails. They won't read your emails, but they respond to volumes of emails. Secondly, and more importantly, telephone their offices and tell them what you think. Tell them to vote no against the carbon dioxide tax. And then write paper letters, handwritten, typewritten, doesn't matter. They need to see these things. Ask your friends to do the same. Spread the news. Because we have got to axe the... We have got to free Australia. We've got to retake our country. Thank you very much for coming.